Fair enough, because I don't think I could use up any amount of time telling you to strategically vote for someone else other than Stephen Harper. Actually, I kind of like what the guy stands for. I like what I've been able to accomplish with him. And so, oh, come on. You know, there's really something, this is a community, a gay community represented here, that is supposed to be caring and compassionate and open and accepting of each other. And for some reason, it's okay to hiss at people because of their political beliefs. That's what's happening here. That's what you're doing. No, I'm not lecturing you. I'm going to tell you what I've done in this community. In 1993, I started Friends for Life, an agency today that serves 2,500 people living with AIDS and cancer, when no one else was doing support groups for those people. In 1995, I founded the Life Quilt for breast cancer, the first support group for women with breast cancer. In 1998, I spent 2 years in the downtown east side raising money for Cottage Hospice and for Mays Place. You may want to forget that. You may not want to count that because I'm sitting beside Stephen Harper, but it's still not right, and it's still not fair. And that's not a lecture. In the last 7 years that I've been your MLA, I brought in safe streets legislation. I brought in legislation to deal with aggressive panhandling that has been reduced as a result of that by 80%. You're going to listen. I brought in the Safe Schools Task Force. Please. I brought in the Safe Schools Task Force, which resulted in legislation being passed that prohibits kids from being discriminated against on the basis of their sexual orientation. Now, these guys do not want you to know that. They do not want you to know that. And they will lie about what that says. You know, there's something wrong in this community that allows Extra West and Jim Diva to tell you lies. Constant lies. Shame. Now, in the last several years, I have been working on homelessness in this community. There are lots of homeless people in this community, and I know because you've talked to me about them. I spent a week on the downtown east side so I could experience what it was like, and I found that the system was disjointed and didn't work. So I brought together a system that includes mental health, addictions, homelessness. We started a homeless outreach team here in this West End that in the first year found housing within 24 hours for 65 people, and last year found housing within 24 hours for 1,900 people across this province. I am proud of that. And I did that. And I did it without the naysayers that are sitting here. Today I read a letter in the paper from a fellow by the name of Peter Porteous, who called me a big disappointment, an ass-kissing liberal. I want to tell you something. When Peter Porteous was fighting over his brother's estate to see who he could get out of his estate, I was looking after his brother, mopping his brow. I was mopping his brow. I was changing his sheets, and I was caring for him while the family fought over a fucking car. Now that's what happened. So now I'd like to also tell you what I've been doing for the last little while. I've started a treatment center up in Prince George where 40 people are in recovery, and they're working, they're doing all right, they're getting better. You know, we don't give people a chance to get better in this society. We think we can solve the problem by giving them a hotel room. Well, it doesn't work. You need to have complete services that help them with their life and their vocational skills. I have people there that have been chronic criminals. I have one guy that has been in jail for every 3 days for 3 years. He broke into a car, he'd get arrested, he'd go to jail, he'd go to court, they release him, he'd break into a car, he'd go to jail, he'd go to court, and they'd release him. For 3 years, he used this as a way of housing himself. The system is failing him. That's what I'm doing about it. What I'm doing is I've started New Hope, and it's very successful. I did it with my own money. No government gave me money for Friends for Life. No government gave me money for Life Quilt. No government gave me money for New Hope. I did it because I needed to have something done. And it's working. And it works great. And there's something really homophobic. There is something really homophobic about the suggestion that I'm just not gay enough. That is sick. That is stupid. And that's what this newspaper, this non-profit agency, promotes. Now let me tell you about Arlene for a second. In 2001... I can wait. I can wait. In 2002, there was a queer film festival here in this town. And Arlene went on the radio and she found out that her film was censored. It wasn't going to be allowed in there because of the BC censors. I phoned into that radio show immediately. I had the director of the film classification unit in my office, and within 2 days they had a meeting with Arlene, they had a meeting with Jim Diva, they had a meeting with the film classification group, and that film was completely released to be in a film festival. That's what I've done in this community. And if that's not good enough for you, too bad. Vote strategically. Vote for someone who didn't care enough to vote for same-sex marriage when it first came up. Vote for someone. Hey, you know what? Do you guys know that when same-sex marriage first was introduced, that Paul Martin and I'll be fine, thanks, Jim. I will be fine. Okay? When same-sex marriage was first brought before Parliament, Paul Martin, John Chrétien, the entire Liberal caucus, or the entire Liberal cabinet.
They brought it in, they were the government, Lord.
The entire Liberal cabinet, including every member of the cabinet, except for Hetty, voted against it. When they voted against it, we checked her record. She wasn't there. She was not there. Now, you can do whatever you want, but you got to know something here. Before the federal government, before the federal Liberal government passed legislation for same-sex marriage, I had people getting their marriage license in Vancouver for their marriage weeks before it was ever passed in legislation. So I think I've done some pretty good things here. If you want to vote strategically, you go ahead. But I think you should vote for someone who's going to do some things for your community. And if you don't like that, then vote strategically. Have a great day.
Not bad.
Okay, well, back to strategic voting.